You're gonna see that at the end of the video. Anyway, in this video, I'm gonna be showing you how I made my submission for the Endless Engines Challenge and how I almost failed. Stay tuned for more. Yo, it's AmiOS, and as said in the intro, I did the Endless Engines Render Challenge, which was actually 2 months ago. It takes a while to edit these videos, which I think is really cool. It's my first ever Blender challenge. It was made by this guy, P. Wisher. He was on what was it, Gordon Crew? His name is Clint, this guy. And basically, the prompt was, you took this original video and you edited it, like making a Garfield. Making it, I don't know, in space. Who knows? Do whatever you want. I decided on a very simple idea. 2 words. Crab and mech. Now, why did I choose this? Why? Why didn't I choose, I don't know, like a car? Or, I don't know, the Garfield idea from earlier? I'm going to tell you 2 reasons. Number 1, crab. Number 2, car. Mech. You get the idea. Both are awesome. Amazing. I love them. Anyway, we had around 5 weeks to make it. Now, I didn't have 5 weeks to make it because I started it late. I only had 12 days, around 2 weeks. But I made the most of my time and finished it. So, let's get right into it. I started off by getting some concept sketches, and then it was time for modeling. I added different base shapes, changed up the basic hull, added headlights, and then I got this. Horrible. I needed greebles, which are these little bits you add to your model so it looked more detailed. I did a lot of different greebles, like spinny thing, or metal plates, a barrel, and a lot of different other things. I gave them all a texture from textures.com, which I totally did not download illegally. I worked on the pincher and the little mouth things, and then I was done modeling. Oh, I also added this cool ant mountain feature with a texture from Polyhaven, which just added a nice landscape. Plus, with the cool city blocks I added from other render and the cool water background I added, it started to look pretty good, but it needed some finishing touches. So I added bubbles and flickering lights, and I also spent so long adding in fish, which I then took out of the final render because of rendering problems. I also put a lot of time into animating. I just had 3 bones and no IK. It worked well. I added an overlay to the camera so that the motion would line up, but I think it looked good. I also added some motion to the background elements, and then I added a noise modifier to a lot of the different motions so that, it had a little bit of a little jiggle, so it looked, a little better. Yeah, and then it was time to render. But before that happens, I spent a lot of time doing this, so you're gonna watch 2 minutes of me just doing this, because to pad out the runtime, also, I spent way too much time on this, so have a 2-minute time lapse and also music. Now it was time to render. Earlier in the process, I did a few test renders, and it took 1 hour for each frame. That would mean in a 120 frame animation, I would have to wait like 5 days for this to render. I did not have that time, but I had one solution. Sheepit Render Farm. Basically, a render farm is when a render takes place on a lot of different computers on different frames. And this allowed me to render stuff a lot faster. But you have to get points to use Sheepit. So, you get points by rendering other people's projects. Now, if I rendered other people's projects on my computer, it would spontaneously combust. But I had a better option. My dad had a computer. It's old, crusty, and we didn't care if it broke. It was perfect. It's so old, it has a removable battery, and there are buttons to right-click and left-click. But hey, it worked. By the end, I had 30,000 points? Enough to render it. So, it was time to render for real this time. So, I put all my files into one folder, compressed it, I made it into one smaller file, and I could finally submit it. Not again! I had to redeem myself, which I did, and none of the frames were rendering. I just kept it up in case something changed. Little did I know, that would save the day. So, I rendered it on my computer. Blender crashed during rendering. Thankfully, I could catch it in time, but still, this meant that the Blender running on my computer was unreliable. It might crash while I'm sleeping, it might crash wherever, or it might not crash, but I did not know. So, both options seemed pretty bleak, and it was the last day before I had to submit it. So, I put on the render on my computer, left the render on Sheepit, and then I hit the sack, knowing that I probably wouldn't be able to render the frames, and it probably wouldn't have worked. When I woke up, I checked Sheepit to see how much had rendered, and it had finished rendering. I had no time to waste, so I downloaded it and add a little bit of color grading in DaVinci, and then I submitted it, and I was done. Now, what did I learn from this? Number one, don't waste my time. Don't add volumetrics to a Blender scene, because that increased the render time. And I think if I could have gone back, I would have probably I saw a tutorial, and I think I probably would have made the crab mech differently, and I probably would have made it above water. But, yeah. I forgot about something. This is the final render. And, it's short, I know, but, I hope you like it, and, hope you have a nice rest of your day.